This is a project that started January 2016, and I had revised some of the through-hole fittings that I had on my shack, and I thought, wow, this is not the only way to do this. There's got to be another way to do this. Get the wires through the outside. So I asked folks in the club to send me some pictures of how they got their wires from the outside to the inside, and we got some real interesting approaches. So we're going to take a look. Actually, we're going to go through this here, and we're going to look at the first one and have each person come up and tell a little bit about what they how they thought about this and some of their thought processes. The first person is John, wherever he is. There he is. Here's a pointer, John, if you need a pointer.
Okay. Well, this is probably the least sophisticated way to do it, that I know of anyway.
There's another one that's coming up.
The house exterior is brick, and I was not willing to put a hole through the brick wall of the house. And there was a window that was handy next to my desk that became my operating station. So I decided I had to go through that window. Well, there are a lot of ways to go through the window, and I've seen examples of several of those. Very nice. Well, I didn't do any of those really nice ways to do it. What I did was, see this round part here, that's just a board. The bottom of my window, the bottom edge of it, has a notch, comes down and goes in and goes down a little bit farther toward this being the outside. Well, so I had these boards that are about 2 inches or so wide, and I'd say maybe 3/8 of an inch thick. So I cut 2 of them the length of this, and then fastened them together. But fastened them together offset just a little bit, which allowed them to set down in this groove, and left at the top just one thickness, like 3/8 or so of an inch thick. And so then I just drilled. First of all, it started out, it was fairly neat. I drilled holes big enough for a .401 or whatever it is, for 213, 214, etc. And then notched that so that I could take out a little tiny piece of wood, put the feed line through there, put the little piece of wood back on it, and it pretty well sealed up, you know. Because I also put just a felt strip across the top, and that allowed the window to come down and be reasonably well sealed. Well, as time goes on, I needed more and more feed lines through there. We never have enough antennas, it seems. And so by now, I have notches and I have holes, and it isn't very neat anymore, but it does work. Now, one part of this that would be obvious to you is that, well, what happens at the top of this window? Well, it lets air in. So you need to do something. In my case, I made something that was like a pillow. It's about so big, and it runs the width of the window, and you stuff that down in there, and it cuts out quite a bit of the wind. This is not a totally airtight situation. As a matter of fact, I noticed that right now I have a hole, .41 hole in there that doesn't have anything in it, you know, so I at least should put a piece of electrical tape over it to keep a little bit of the air out. So anyway, that's what it is. Now, are there any questions about it?
A suggestion, a wine cork instead of the tape.
A what?
Wine cork.
Oh, okay, very good.
Closed cell foam is also
Except
convenient.
it's not the right size probably,
You-
but.
Yeah, the closed cell
And
foam.
if you've tried to pair cork, it's difficult to pair. Anyway,
Thank you, John.
I've used
Oh.
I do the same sort of thing, not for antennas, but I use closed cell foam that you can cut to fit the window shape.
that's a neater way to do it.
Thank you, John. Well, let's see what we got up next here. Does this look like Virginia? This belongs, oh, you can see right up there, Tom Aslan was a member of this club for many years, and he moved out to Chino Valley in Arizona. And I asked him for these pictures, and the thing that I like about this is that the stuff that he used is available on the market. For instance, this box right here, and this one here, and this one here. This is where he has pulled his antennas. All the antenna lines come in here, and they go down through this piece of conduit, buried under the ground, and they pop up over there next to that connector there, that
So
comms
good.
box.
So I can mow over it, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, right, you can mow over it. There's the, this is the antenna box, so all his antenna lines culminate right here, then they go underground over to that comms box. And then, of course, you can see the buried conduit there. If you'll excuse me, I'm gonna sit down here where I can work this thing a
Do you
little
know
better.
whether that went through a pipe or tube, or did it just?
It's through a piece of conduit underground here,
Mm-hmm.
over to this box. Now, maybe you're asking, there's the box, there's a rock, that's part of the front yard. And there you have this is the antennas, or the conduit coming up from the remote sites. And if you notice up here, he's got these 2-inch holes that run along there. He's got 8 of them, and that's where the cables go into the shack. The thing that I like about that is it's not one big hole. He's got 8 small holes, easy to plug, helps keep your antennas separated.
Easy
And
to
you
put
can-
more in.
Pardon me?
Easy to add more holes too.
Well, I think 8's probably enough. But you can certainly drill it with tools that you can get your hands on, and you don't have to go get some big humongous tools. This is Vienna, Virginia now, where Tom used to live, and he obviously took out a window pane and replaced it with a piece of plywood, and then has these various connectors that are there. So going through a window obviously is a good way to go, and it's making it airtight. Okay, is Sheila here? Sheila's not here. All right, let's see if Mel's here.
Obviously, this
There's Mel. Mel, you want to tell us about that? You got a pointer? I'll give you instructions. You just push that little button.
okay. Anyway, this is a very simple system. I've got 2 antennas outside. One is a multiband vertical, and the other is a fixed 40-meter dipole that I use for the digital net. Basically, that cable right there goes down on the floor into this closet, which is really what my Radio Shack is. It's just a simple bedroom closet. And anyway, there's the vertical antenna, which is this one, and then the horizontal antenna. There's an antenna switch. That yellow wire goes from there over to the power meter. And this panel right here, the wood plus that metal part, is all part of the MFJ product, the MFJ 4602, which you can buy. And it's not very expensive, so it makes a very simple solution for a double hung window. And I have the same issue that John does. Up at the top, there's a crack, so I've got a towel rolled up and stuffed in the top to keep the wind out.
Yeah, you've got to do that for both the double sash and the storm window.
Yeah, there's a storm window that drops down right on the cable, so there is a slot in there that stays open all the time. That's all it is. Very simple.
Thank you, Mel. I too have the same issue with air coming in right alongside of the top of that window. I just stuffed it with some insulation that I pulled out of the attic and poked it in there. And this particular case, it was real easy to take this glass panel out, remove the glass panel, and then replaced it, made another one the same dimensions, except this is a piece of sheet metal, or two pieces of sheet metal, with a piece of Lexan sandwiched in between. And then the metal screws that go through, that hold this sandwich together, ground or make an electrical connection from the front piece of sheet metal to the back. And then there's a ground that's right there. Oh, let's see here, I think we can see that. This is a ground wire that comes up and it attaches itself to the sheet metal panel, which gets it to the front, and it's, of course, takes all of these coax through fittings, and it grounds all, or ties them all together. And this one, this antenna will have a balanced line you can attach here, a random line, just a random wire that goes out just for an antenna wire if you wanted, just something in the trees. And this takes a VHF and HF1 and HF2 antennas. And so that's that. It still is drafty. I still hear comments. When are you gonna fix that draft? And if you notice right here, you know, it seems like these all have the same problems. Right there, what do you think that is?
Storm window.
That's the storm window that it won't all the way close. We make
You can
little
still put a towel in there.
we make little sacrifices all the time. But anyway, that's.
Of course, birds tend to take.
Pardon me?
Birds tend to take little bits of it too.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and this is, Ray and I had an experience Saturday. This is the Mod 1 panel. Mod 2 panel has another coax fitting, right, a through fitting here, one here, and one here, just to duplicate the three that are down here. There's only one label that says HF1, HF2, and HF3, and it's right in between the two fittings. So Ray's outside, and I say, hook it up to HF1, Ray. And he says, okay. So he goes out there. But this is right in between. So he hooks it up to this HF1 up here. There's nothing on the inside. All the power's going into this fitting down here. And now we got all our test equipment out. We got our dummy loads. We got we had the dummies running around the shack trying to figure out why this thing won't tune. Well, it took a little bit of time. Oh yeah, that's right. I rolled the window up. I reached my hand through and I said, it's got to be right on here, Ray. He said, oh yeah. So he put it down on that one, and all of a sudden the signals come in. Everything was just fine after that, but for a few moments there, we were kind of dummies. Okay, this is Tom KVU, KV4UG. This is a very thin piece of coax, along with the two coaxial fittings on the end, so that this will fit right underneath a windowsill. You can just drop it in, close the windowsill right down on top of it.
Seems to me it'd be better to put it between the sashes.
You can put it any place you want, John.
I actually put them in the door. I have 3 of them.
Okay.
Coax is that?
These are really, it's a very nice design, and it would fit just about any circuit. You can put it in the crack in the plaster if you wanted to. Where do you get them? You get them from HRO, $59.95 right now. But if you wanted to keep peace in the family, no drafts in the shack, boy, there'd be something I'd give some thought to.
Pretty low power output though.
Yeah, it's limited to, what does it say, 100 watts HF, and, but, you know, 100 watts is okay. Unless-
It'll take 200.
Yeah, it'll probably, unless you had a metal shaft or shafts. I'm gonna skip that word, whatever it was. I forgot what it was. Now, this is for John, talking about drilling holes in the brickwork.
Yes, I see.
When you were talking, I was thinking, oh yeah, I think Kerry did that. So here we have this is Kerry's way of getting it in, and he's got this ground strap that's going in there. I'm not sure what that is, but
Is that
anyway.
a grounding rod?
I don't know. He didn't give me an explanation on that. But here we have the coax fittings going inside.
I think
And-
I'd take out a whole brick and replace it with a chunk of wood.
You could do
Actually, you can fill that hole up with some foam that expands. And that'll make it air and bug tight and watertight.
that. I wish Carrie was here.
I asked Kerry about this one day, and he said, yeah, he didn't have enough room to pass the connectors through there. He
Yeah.
had to pass the cable through there and then put the connectors
Oh, and that's why. That's the tool that he used, a concrete drill. And so that was giving him the size, or approximately the size of the hole, unless you can ream it out a little bit and get it in there.
Yeah, if you take out the whole brick though, you can just take that out with a chisel
Just
and,
chisel it right out, yeah.
and then
that's right.
put it back when you want to sell the house.
Well, you can take and cast something with the fittings right in it. And a lot of opportunities when you can take a whole brick out of there. A lot of opportunities for
3D printing,
huh?
3D printing.
3D printing or 3D critiquing from the home side. John, KJ4YHC, another guy that used to be here, and he's now down working for, I think, Exxon Oil, I think.
He's in Houston.
Texas. And he sent me a narrative that tells about this. Once again, this is inside the house, and you notice he's using the low voltage fitting that fits in there, so he can put a plate on the front of it. Let me see if I can, I'm sure I made a copy of it. Okay, this is his description of the three pictures. From the inside, I cut the drywall and used a low voltage old work box to make it look neat. What is not shown is the duplex outlet cover I used to cover over the 4 coax. Inside the wall, I fitted cardboard around the opening in the wall space and used spray foam to seal it and give some R rating against the elements. Once again, another commercially made fitting, and that looks pretty good outside too, so it doesn't look kind of hokey. From the outside, I used an outside electrical box with a sealed but removable cover. The coax and grounding cables came up from the bottom so as to keep the water out. The back is drilled through for the 4 bulkhead barrels. When the box was mounted against the siding, it got silicone sealed, so it is now part of the siding.
Also makes a nice birdhouse.
And there's, from the outside, further away, showing the ground wires going to the grounding rod. Now, let's see here. As it was part of the house, I left it when I moved. I was a little nervous the home inspector might flag it to be removed, but I guess I did a good job, or the buyer was a ham. So, anyway, I guess if you want to think that far ahead. So that's John's contribution here. Let's see what else.
But essentially, first off, I picked up one of these at a ham fest, but I kept thinking, I don't really want to drill holes through the walls. And also, I like type N connectors, and these are only in UHF. So, second reason to not use it, I've seen various forms of the plastic and metal plates that go in the windows. Looked at some of them being offered on the web and thought, but wait a minute now, the house is old. The window size is weird. So I decided to make my own using a sheet of about 3/8 inch thick Lexan. And it's tucked into the groove. The ends I milled down thin enough so they would fit into the grooves that the storm window slid in. Planning to bow the plastic, get the ends in and let it snap. It was too strong. So you'll see there a whole bunch of little white dots. Those are screws. There's an extra plate of Lexan on the inside, threaded through into tapped holes in the outer plastic, and in this dimension here is the secondary plate in there. So I could get the two ends tucked in and then run all the screws in, and it's good and solid. Ground, double ground just to be sure. 8 feed throughs, all type M. These two have a ground built into them. You know, there's a voltage limiter. The rest of them are right now just plain type F feed throughs, and I intend to replace them. I've got a 6-position antenna switch inside, which I intend to use these 6, and these 2 options for going into the 2-meter rig. And that's it.
Any questions of Don?
Oh, one other thing, by the way, it doesn't show here, but pink anti-static foam rubber tucked in between the windows. Yes, it gets chilly, and there's now also a towel hung on the curtain rod just inside to help.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Don. Questions or comments with antenna wire in your mind, and you're looking at the house and you're repairing things and so on. You might find little nooks and crannies or spaces there that will give you the opportunity to do something creative like John did. That sounds good. Anybody else, any comments? Anything that you've done that we didn't have any pictures for tonight? This is for the beginners, for people that want to know the basics about ham radio, and then we'll go into the other meeting room where we can find out more advanced topics. Thank you very much.